they put them inside of essentially a jail cell, and they'll have them there potentially for months. But it's okay for the bear because they've got those fat reserves.
Yeah, that's just what it would be expected. You know, that in the wild, what it'd be doing, it might eat some kelp or something here and there, but
yeah,
that's the females. If they go in and they're denning, they can go up to 8 months without eating, which is, and then you know they're raising young at the same time. That's a little shiny little calf there.
Speaking of, oh my goodness, that one's got some really interesting scarring on its forehead. No, speaking of mothers and cubs, there was one researcher working in Wapusk National Park was, look at that.
He got, it looks like 3 calves in total, I think, with 3 females. I think that other one too had a calf. And they're all approaching the back of the boat here now. Oh, it dropped back further.
Okay.
What were you saying?
Right. The mother polar bear and her one cub, they were monitoring them. They think that they could eat over 1,000 snow goose eggs in a day.
Holy crap. Wow.
And that's, you know, from the polar bear's perspective, that would be a pretty rich food source.
Yeah, and then that's probably a good thing, right? Like for up here at least, they're wanting the snow geese, the populations to get knocked down a little bit.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and there's certainly no shortage of snow geese.
1,000 eggs in a day, that's wild.
So we're out here and it's just a beautiful afternoon, and it's what, 1:30 local time, something like that?
Yep.
Where do these whales go at night?
It just, I think they come in the tide. They tend to go out like when they have those moms and calves are still hanging out. You'll see once the tide really starts going out, a lot of the whales start to move out into the bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I'm remembering properly, they'll sleep, you know, but I think they can shut off one of the lobes of their brain kind of thing, but they're still somewhat aware.
Yep.
And that's how they'll sleep.
I definitely got through some university courses like that.
Doing the same thing, yeah. So this is kind of a good example when we were talking, you know, if the males tend to hang out and then the mums and calves isolate themselves in groups. This seems like a good example of that. I think we have at least, you know, 3 pairs, I think, minimum right now. Mom and calf pairs. And doesn't seem to be any lone adults.
Oh, that was cool. that whale just kind of abruptly rolled over and dove.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's weird. The belugas, like they can maneuver pretty good in the water, but they're able to swim backwards too. I don't get how you know, you look at a whale, like how you try to picture what it'd do to swim backwards. It's hard to imagine. I'm not sure how they make it happen.
Yeah. Oh, they're passing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
going the other direction.
Yeah, they're headed towards the flats.
Oh, yep, that'll be out of our range. Yeah, it turned into a really nice day.
Mm-hmm. Getting this view of town from the estuary here just sort of drives home how physically small Churchill is.
I know.
I always use the steeple there, not just because I'm a lapsed Catholic, but also because it's the most convenient landmark in town.
Yeah. I said the same thing. I was up on the port a few weeks ago, and then you could really, you see everything from up there, and yeah, you can get a good idea how tiny Churchill is. There's not much there.
Yep.
I've always liked isolated, kind of remote places.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like you'd just want to go crazy, right? Like, being so far removed from pretty well everywhere else, right? Especially with the train being down, but it's so cozy here. I don't know, you don't even think about it. It's not even something that pops in your head.
Well, and two, I mean, I don't have a real sense of hardship working in Churchill. Like, I feel lucky to be up here, and it's partly that there's a lot of services in town that, I needed a medical test, and it wasn't a big deal, but in Winnipeg I'd probably have to wait for a week, and then I'd go in for an appointment, and the staff member I spoke to on the phone said, "Oh, well, why don't you just come up for 4:30." It was probably about 4 o'clock then,
Yeah.
and so I walked from my office up there, and the community complex has got a saltwater swimming pool in it, and so there are some things, like I would like to have my hair cut by an actual barber,
Yeah.
and I'd like to eat some Vietnamese food, but just on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just fine.
Well, I was joking about it earlier this year because I got my hair cut before I came up, because the only guy that was in town qualified to cut hair left town on a dog sled last winter.
Uh-huh.
So I made sure to chop off a few extra inches because I knew I was going to be up here for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you say stuff like Vietnamese food, I do, like, now you kind of think of it, but besides that doesn't, even fast food, like all that stuff, that's just not even an option,
No.
That's weird because if you go to the city, stuff like that, kids grow up with that in their lives, and up here they don't even know what it is.
Well, and I know my two kids are up here, and I know in Winnipeg, when we've got a weekend, we're going to go and we're going to have some sort of an activity, we're going to go and do something, we'll usually stop and eat at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more convenient that way. I have eaten in a restaurant, I think, twice in the last 3 months that I've been here. Not that it wasn't good. I really enjoyed the restaurant food, but just you end up doing a lot of home cooking.
No, that's right. I did something similar to last year and brought up all my own protein.
Mm-hmm.
Packed a bunch of coolers frozen and then shipped them up with me, and yeah, I do a lot of cooking at home too.
I just grilled the last of my snow goose meat. Oh, we can hear them again?
Yeah, there's a couple that just popped up behind us, it looked like, momentarily. Is that your favorite way to do the geese?
My favorite way to cook a snow goose is to make it into a meat pie.
Oh yeah, I've had that.
But no, the snow goose, it grills really nicely. It cures really nicely. So if you make a meat cure, like a sodium nitrite cure. It's just beautiful when you do it that way. I've made a confit
What's
of
that?
snow goose. You end up getting, what's that?
Confit? I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a confit is just it's really slow cooked. It's like poached in oil.
Oh.
And
Oh, I think I've had that actually once before. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like really tender, I guess, rich,
really
right?
tender, really salty.
Yeah.
French do ducks that way. You know, when you're in an area with super abundant snow geese and they're, you know, you've got lots of people hunting them, you end up getting kind of creative.
Well, they had something in town, didn't they, where it was kind of a potluck and everybody came with all their own spin on goose, and
Yep.
I heard it was awesome.
It was really good.
Seeing where the tides are meeting right now, it's getting dicey. Like the waves are not really uniform. There's no rhyme or reason to them right now.
Yeah.
Little calf right back there.
Oh yeah.
Maybe crossing over into some mucky water here in a few seconds. Try to ride the edge a little bit. I try not to eat or drink anything before coming out on the boat every day, and usually we end up talking a little bit about food, and then by the time I get off the water I'm starving. Got some moose stew at home to eat.
Oh, nice.
It's weird all of a sudden too, I noticed it's like a flip was switched. We haven't really been seeing a lot of turns this past couple days. They'd be looking to move on soon too, but
Yeah.
usually, I mean, even if there's not a lot of feeding activity going on, you'll still see them kind of cruising around. And seeing the gulls, there's a couple hanging out.
Yeah. It's one thing about you're mentioning the terns and the gulls. Before coming to Churchill, I didn't really have an interest in birds.
No.
I mean, aside from the ones that I would eat, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I really couldn't have told a grebe from a tern before I came up here. But here, not only are there so many different kinds of birds, but also there's a real birding culture. That you know, you'll talk to somebody in the grocery store and they say, "Oh, did you see there's a Eurasian collared dove down by the community center?" And I was like, "Well, no,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna look for it now."
Yeah, it's more common for just the, you know, average person you bump into in town to have a better knowledge of birds than your typical person would. I know I don't know much, but I've definitely picked up on it a little bit since I've been here too. I can't remember how many. I think it's over 100 species of birds they say you can expect to see if you're a birder coming to town.
Yep.
I want to check a few off the list.
And there's the 100 that you can expect to see, and then there might be another 50 or something that are not unheard of up here. So a Bonaparte gull, for instance, is not common, but you might see one.
The Ross's gull.
Yeah.
We talked about that a few times. Hummingbirds now.
Yep.
They had a Eurasian crane, I guess, a couple of years in a row.
Right down here by the grain handling facility. Yeah. Well,
I love seeing the cranes, the sandhills.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got into like the upland game birds. So at home we were looking for the Lex, the sharp-tailed grouse, and ruffed grouse, and I wanted to find some sage, but just didn't have enough time this spring to. It's tough, man. I put on I don't know. I had my dog out with me, and we'd go out 3-4 hours most days. We put on a lot of kilometers, and you could hear them, but they're man, sorry, that's a big wave rolling in.
Now, where you were out looking, are there any Hungarian partridge down there?
Yep, yeah, we got them around. Yeah. They're pretty common, and what's the other one that we got a lot of guys hunt for them? I'm slipping my mind now. And then we of course have tons of pheasants.
Right.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah. I enjoy a pheasant. I'm not an upland game hunter. I could, with a shotgun, I could probably end a fist fight. But if it's flying through the air, it's pretty safe from me. But
Yeah.
I used to work in England, and they ate pheasants there, and I enjoyed them.
Yeah, they're tricky. Like a lot of the upland game birds. Well, not that a pheasant actually isn't one, but if you do see them, like even I'd go trying to get photos and stuff, and when they do spot you, or if they're trying to evade you, they're hunker down, their necks go way down, and they'll run from bush to bush and stay low to the ground. It's pretty funny to watch.
I've been told by a lot of locals that the ptarmigan are the easiest bird to hunt, because their response to threats is to stand very still.
Yeah, sometimes they'll fly, and I've had other people tell me if you're gonna get ptarmigan, go for the one. If there's one that's chirping at all, like making any noise, that's the one to go for first, just because it'll be the bird to alarm the others.
Okay.
But lots of times guys say they'll be hunting them, and they just stand there, like in the bush, in the willow. They eat the willow ptarmigan, they nip the tops off the bushes.
When David Thompson was sent out here, David Thompson's kind of a famous Canadian explorer. He mapped much of western and northern Canada in the early 1800s. So David Thompson gets sent out here as an apprentice, and I think this poor kid was 12 or 14 years old or something. He gets sent to Prince of Wales for it. And one of his jobs as an apprentice fur trader was provisioning the fort by hunting ptarmigan. And what they would do is they would get gravel and they would sprinkle it on a snowbank. And ptarmigan, like a lot of other birds, they've got a gizzard, and the gizzard is how they digest their food. But in order to do that, they have to swallow small stones. So the ptarmigan would come and would be eating these small stones they had put out, and the fur traders would drop a leather net on them and basically would pin them all to the ground. And then part of Thompson's job as an apprentice was he would have to pick up these frightened ptarmigan, put them in his mouth, and break their cervical vertebrae with his front teeth. The idea being that if you killed the ptarmigan in some other way, you'd get blood on the net, and then the Arctic foxes would come and would eat your darn net. So you had to be very, very careful with it. But I thought, now that's a very specialized method of hunting, would be to kill something with your incisors.
No, don't. I've never heard that. That's crazy.
Probably a bit of an eye-opener for a young man from London.
If you look in their crop, that's what it is. It's filled with little twigs and sticks and stuff, and it's crazy to think that they can pulverize that down in their gizzard.
Yeah.
I was wondering that myself, because you see the same thing, the spruce grouse.
Yep.
They eat all the pine needles and stuff, and I don't get, like, I was out there, right? There's 4 feet of snow everywhere. I don't understand how they can replenish their grit through the winter.
Yeah.
Like where it is they're finding it. But yeah, they're pretty neat. So you got the willow, and then we also have, you'll see rock ptarmigan up here as well.
Yeah, from what I've heard though, the rock ptarmigan is rarer in this area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it gets to the point in the springtime, they'll start to kind of group together, so you'll get the larger flocks of them. Okay. Otherwise, you see just kind of small. There'll be maybe half a dozen or 10 or just 1 or 2. But then in the spring when they're getting ready to start mating and stuff, and you'll see groupings of like 100 of them or more. And then with that you can, sometimes they'll let you get pretty close to them if say they like to be out on the frozen lakes.
Yeah.
And the rock ptarmigan have like a black line along their eyes. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how you tell them apart. But there'll only be a couple of them for, I don't know, 10 or 20, I don't know what the ratio would be, willow. They're good though, they're like livery, kind of tasting, and
Yep.
as the hunting season gets closer to when they're shutting it down, I guess they get stronger and stronger, that liver taste. The breasts are dark red.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them. They're really good. I haven't tried spruce grouse though. I've heard they're more pine needly tasting.
I've eaten spruce grouse. I don't find them that bad.
Yeah.
The only traditional food from where I'm from in Saskatchewan that I don't care for at all is muskrat. I've yet to find a way to cook a muskrat to make it good.
I've never had it.
You're not missing much.
Yeah.
Beaver's kind of where I draw the line. But I think it's like a lot of things, and whether we're talking about eating muskrats in Saskatchewan or the Australians eating Vegemite, I think it's maybe something you have to have been fed as a very small child.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to kind of grow into it.
Heck, I eat choke cherries. Love the things.
Oh, really?